Carmichael Dave, Jason Ross, and Matthew Barrows.
Yeah.
Joining us right now. Now, Matt, by the way, Matt, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. Jason, you?
Yeah, good.
Chris, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Okay, so we're all doing well. Look, I'm going to do it this way because I don't want to be, I'm going to fumble this like I always do. I don't want to be talking football and then go into this. I'd rather just talk about the stuff that matters first off. We could spend all segment talking about all the injuries the 49ers have dealt with this year, but the news hit yesterday that goes beyond football. And not only Matt, did Trent Williams and his wife lose their two of their children, one before and one stillborn, she'd reported on Instagram. It's not even, I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud, but it's not even the first 49er that lost a child this year. And we remember, I think it was Marquise Goodwin a few years ago that all. So you go through all the losing and the injuries and all the things that would already bring that locker room down. And you have actual real life tragedies hitting this team. To say this year has been a nightmare from not just a football, but a human standpoint, I think, Matt, is you've covered this team forever. That's an understatement.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it puts everything into perspective as well. And I think the 49ers do that and know that. And that was Kyle Shanahan's point, is that, these guys are very close. And, Trent Williams is held in more esteem than everyone. He's like the king of the locker room. And so, if there is any sort of good coming out of it, it's that he's got a lot of support and a lot of people reaching out to him and a lot of people to turn to. And you're right. It's not the first time it's happened. It's not the first time it's happened in the last month and a half. So it's one hammer blow after another. It just sort of underscores the snake bit, nature of this season. It's a low season. And I think everybody is starting to kind of see that or kind of feel the reality of the year.
And Matt, on kind of that same note with Trent Williams, it does seem less important about returning to play football, but how are they going to handle that? Kind of give him his own freedom on that? Like, what's their approach, you think, with him?
Yeah, I mean, some guys want to get out there as quickly as possible, as almost a distraction. He's got the added onus of having this left heel / ankle injury, which apparently is not healing as quickly as they had hoped. He was on a knee scooter all week last week, trying to kind of keep his weight, 325 pounds or whatever he is, off of it. So I think that is another big issue. You talk about kind of the state of playing issue. His backup, Jalen Moore, has played well in his absence, and again had another nice game. All the offensive linemen had good games on both sides of the ball, because this was an offensive lineman built game in the snow. But Moore had another solid outing, and probably good for him to continue to play at left tackle.
And so, Matt, I'm just speaking as a Niner fan now, and obviously the fan base doesn't speak with one voice, but I'm looking at this team that still has, they're hosting Detroit. They go to Arizona to end the season. They've got Chicago and the Rams both at home, and then at Miami. I mean, it's not a huge stretch to say that they could win 3 in a row, but the way they're playing, they could lose 2 or 3 or 3 in a row. They're 5-7. CMC's gone for the year. Mason's gone for the year. Trent Williams, I'm just speaking from a football standpoint, maybe gone for I don't know. There is a part of me with the cap issues on the horizon, with everything going on, that says I just don't know what winning does for this franchise long term at this point. Even if they were to somehow sneak into the playoffs, this isn't a Super Bowl team this year, and this is a franchise that's all about winning Super Bowls. Maybe put on the brakes, pull some guys, let them heal, let them get better. Fred Warner with the ankle fracture, shelf him up, and get everybody healthy, get those draft picks, get in the top 10, recycle, reload, and try next year. And do you sense any sort of appetite for that or a conversation about that in the front office?
It's already happening. I mean, they're already playing for next year. And it's not their choice to. All those injuries have meant that a whole slew of rookies have come in and played already, and there's going to be another major one, Isaac Guerendo, getting a lot of snaps here coming up. So this is all happening for them, and I do think that it's really beneficial for 2025. I mean, let's just look at the Guerendo situation specifically. The 49ers know what they have in Jordan Mason, the backup, and he's going to be out for at least 4 weeks because he's got a high ankle sprain. And Mason is going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the year. And restricted free agents usually don't have big markets. They usually come back to the team that they were on. This could be a guy who does get attention because he's been so good for the 49ers, so reliable, so steady, that he could get a market. And so the 49ers would want to know, okay, how aggressively do we try to retain this guy? And I think Isaac Guerendo's last 5 games are going to determine that. I think that we started to see Isaac Guerendo turn the corner in Seattle in week 6, and he's played well since then. But he's still kind of progressing. And the big question about him is, can he stay healthy? And so I think if he's able to prove to them that over these last stretch of games, I think that'll dictate a lot toward, like I said, how aggressively do the 49ers try to retain Jordan Mason? I think the 49ers would love to have Guerendo as their number 2 to Christian McCaffrey next year. But it's up to Isaac Guerendo to sort of make that case over the last 5 games.
Well, and just real quick, and a name we've kind of forgotten is Elijah Mitchell in there, also going into his 4th year. Do the same rules apply with him? And is there any thought to remember that he had that 790 yards last year? Just excuse me, that's Jordan Mason. Excuse me. Mitchell has shown promise in the past as well. He's just been so banged up. Or do you feel like they're just kind of writing him off?
Not writing him off, but I don't think he's going to have quite a market. I mean,
Gotcha.
that injury history is so extensive that very, very hard to see the 49ers having much competition to have him back. I think he would be back, but they can't rely on him. It's going to be interesting this week to see who else they bring in. I mean, they lost 2 running backs. This is a team that had 3 running backs going into the Bills game. They lost 2 of them. So Guerendo Pops is going to go to the top of the list, and then they've got one guy on the practice squad who they'll bring in, but that's it. I mean, they need to have a tryout for running backs and to bring somebody in. And I would hope that it's sort of a young type of guy because whoever they bring in is going to get carries at some point this season. And again, it'll be good to kind of give that person opportunities to see what they have for next year.
Talking with Matt Barrows from The Athletic and courtesy of Stockton Honda. Matt, we're talking so much about injuries, and I think and you already said the Niners are kind of already planning for next year based on the results they're having. So how do they separate the injuries from performance? Because obviously the injuries are a factor, but there also has been some poor performance. That's really tough in evaluating a year like this when so many things have gone wrong, a lot of it based off injuries. But do you think they're able to separate this and also not just get completely fooled and say, hey, this was all injuries? Or do you feel like that's really the crux of all their problems?
I mean, I think it's the main crux of all their problems. I thought that they started out well in Buffalo. Like they had the energy. They were on it. They were sharp to begin. And I didn't feel that way against, in the game against the Packers. That was such a disjointed game, especially in that first quarter. They fell behind 17-0. They were out of it early. I thought that their effort was better in Buffalo. I mean, the results were worse, but it was a game After the game, the Bills offensive linemen were thumping their chests and saying, yeah, we just kept running the same play over and over against them, and they couldn't stop it, and we ran the ball down their throats. Well, the 49ers were doing the same thing to the Bills.
Mhm.
The difference in the game is that the Bills scored on their long drives and the 49ers didn't. My point being that was the type of game it was. Both teams were running the ball well. It was hard to play defense. I think if Christian McCaffrey doesn't get hurt, he has a huge game. And the 49ers are close. So I know that the final score is shameful, but I don't think that the effort was shameful.
And now you have, as we mentioned earlier, now you come back home at 5-7, and you take on Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears with a new head coach involved as well. So we talked about what the front office may or may not have an appetite for, whether it's willingly or unwillingly, but obviously the players on the field are going to be playing to win the game. And it's my one question is about Brock Purdy. Obviously played against Buffalo, but how close to 100% is he, in your opinion?
Oh, I think he's close to 100%.
Okay.
I don't think that was a big factor. After the Juszczyk fumble, the Bills guy who recovered it is running down the sideline, and who's the guy that knocked him out of bounds? It was Brock Purdy with the injured right shoulder.
Yeah.
So I think if that was really bothering him, he doesn't make that play. He's not a good bad weather quarterback. I mean,
Right.
that's proven. Josh Allen is built for 6 inches of snow in a blizzard condition. I mean, he's a big guy who can run the ball. Purdy, not as big. Whenever the ball is wet or slippery, he tends to have some grip issues. And there was one in the fourth quarter in this game as well. The game was over by that point. Not a huge deal as far as the outcome, but again, I mean, that's his kryptonite is rain and snowy weather, and luckily he plays in a place that rarely has either of those, and certainly I'm trying to think if the Bears' new stadium is going to be a dome stadium or not, or whether that even gets done. But
Right.
luckily, you go to Minnesota, you're playing indoors. You go to Detroit, you're playing indoors. So it's really Green Bay, Seattle. You're not going to play Buffalo until the next time they go to Buffalo will be 2032. So we'll worry about it at that point. Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing for me, Matt. Dave and I were talking about this earlier about the injury to McCaffrey. So his season is over. It never really got started technically, and he's going to be 29. Not that that's a dinosaur, but that's that magic age for running backs. What's the concern level of? He had early career injuries. Now this one really for the Niners, just kind of going forward, his overall health, or did he save some mileage this year?
Well, I was going to say, like, he didn't put on a lot of mileage this year for sure. So you would think that, a high mileage year last year led to the injuries this year. Maybe a low mileage year leads to a better 2025. I think that's the hope. That's the thinking. I don't think that there's any thought that, oh boy, maybe this is it for Christian McCaffrey. This seems like more of a freak injury. He fell hard on that knee, suffered a PCL. I'm talking to an orthopedic surgeon later today just to learn about, that injury, how common they are, and, what it means for the future. Like I said, I think that the 49ers' ideal situation at running back next year is a McCaffrey, Guerendo 1-2 punch. We saw, Guerendo score a 15-yard run yesterday, but it was really a pass. It was a throw behind the line of scrimmage from Brock Purdy. That's something that Guerendo brings to the table that Jordan Mason doesn't. I think the 49ers love the fact that, like Raheem Mostert in the past, if Guerendo hits the hole correctly, he could be gone. And I think that 1-2 combination will be interesting. This is a 2025 question. I shouldn't even be bringing it up. But one of the things that irks the fans the most is that McCaffrey never comes out of the game. He'll play like 95, 96% of the snaps. It would seem like a McCaffrey, Guerendo, more of a share. Obviously, McCaffrey would get the lion's share of the snaps, but that could be a really nice combination next year that would save some mileage. Get back to your point, Jason, on McCaffrey down the line.
That's Matt Barrows of The Athletic. Make sure to read him, subscribe. Great deals going on right now for the holidays from The Athletic, in which you can curate all your favorite writers, get all the team info you want from the teams that you love and more. Matt, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you after the Bears game next week. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that should be a Monday chat instead of our Tuesday chats that we've had.
Okay. Well, looking
be
forward
ready
to it, buddy. Take care. Wear a coat.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That's Matt Barrows. We'll take a break. When we come back, top and bottom five, as we wrapped up